We have Chris Wright on, U.S. Energy Secretary. We are concerned about our energy, and thank God Donald Trump. Can you imagine how bad this would be if Joe Biden's policies would have continued? Thank God we're doing a lot of really good things, but I wanted to get a sense from Chris on where we are and what he thinks of what's happening in Maryland and the warning that Goldman is giving this week. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Glenn. Yeah, you're hitting a hot topic right away.
Okay. So I would assume that you agree with what Goldman said?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we released a report from the department just a few weeks ago. And if you had continued the Biden policies, which are to permit and subsidize energy sources that might be there, might not, and generally aren't there at peak demand, if we had continued those policies, they would have shut down another 100 gigawatts of firm production capacity that's there when you need it. And they had permits to approve and plans to add 22 gigawatts to that. Shut down 100, add 22. So a net loss of 78 gigawatts to an electricity grid that's already tight, that already delivers blackouts at peak demand. They were on a trajectory to increase blackouts by 100-fold by the end of the first Harris term if she had won that election. It is just we were driving over a cliff and they were hitting the accelerator to go faster.
You know what really bothered me was the policy that when they shut these plants down, that we would actually pay the power companies to shut these down if they dismantled the coal-fired plants. They actually could get subsidies if they made sure there was no going back into that, which I found terrifying and horribly irresponsible.
Glenn, just crazy. Environmentalists melted down a few weeks ago when I used my authority at the Department of Energy to stop the closure of a 1.5 gigawatt coal plant in southwestern Michigan. Oh, you're going to impose tax costs on the ratepayers? We don't need that coal plant. It was slated to close. 2 days later, there was a blackout in MISO, the Midwestern Independent System Operator. The 2 days later, that plant was running at full capacity. It would have been massively worse. Prices would have been massively higher. You just talked about Baltimore. We also stopped the closure of a very old power plant in Baltimore, but a critical power plant to keep the lights on at peak demand. That's also running at full capacity as we speak today and has for much of the last few weeks. Oh, no, we don't need it. We're going to close it. It's just when politics gets in the middle of energy, it truly impacts people's lives. It leads to blackouts, spiking costs. You know, we had 30% rise in power prices during just 4 years of President Joe Biden. And now we're going to launch the AI race against China.
Right.
And we're going to have our lights going off without data centers, without any new industry in our country. Just thank God the American people overwhelmingly elected President Trump. We brought common sense back. We're swimming 7 days a week to try to fix the train wreck they left us. So it's exciting. It's more stressful than I'd like. But I can assure you, we are headed in the right direction now.
So, what really bothers me is we have heard how dangerous nuclear power is and how we can't use that, even though that solves the global warming thing. We've never been able to have that. We have to reduce our power usage, go back to the good old days and, medieval times. But now that AI is here, now that the big tech companies step up and say, no, we have to have power for AI, now all of those rules are out the window, which bothers me so much because it is as if the left and the power structures don't really care about the average person and them having power. They care about these big corporations and AI being able to have compute power, but not the average person. And it's disgusting. It's really disgusting.
I think that's right, Glenn. It also shows that they never really cared about incremental changes in greenhouse gas emissions. The climate change thing is mostly a clamor for power. We're going to decide the way the world works, and make rules for you because you stupid rubes out there in America,
Yep.
you can't make your own decisions. We must make them for you. But yes, they were never about a rational approach to reduce greenhouse gases. They don't even know that much about greenhouse gas emissions. As you said, they hated nuclear then. Now they see we're on a train wreck. They don't want to admit their climate alarmism was wrong and wildly exaggerated. So now, nuclear power is okay because we need these data centers. These big companies need power. It's not just those crazy rubes in middle America like you and I.
So, in your report, you said, we will increase blackouts by 100 times in the next 5 years if we don't keep more baseload power online. How rapidly are we going to see these nuclear power plants, et cetera, being built? And is it only to serve those server farms, or are we going to redo the American power grid itself?
It will be across the grid. So it is an exciting development, Glenn, but it's a government. It's this overweening, fear-mongering government that actually smothered and killed nuclear industry for most of the last 4 decades. So since it's been smothered for so long, it'll take time to get that ball really moving. We'll have a already closed nuclear power plant back open in Michigan later this year, January, hopefully at the latest. So there's some developments that'll happen in the next few months, but most of it's going to take a few years. Really, what's going to feed the data centers that are going to be built and the reindustrialization of our country and keep the lights on and our air conditioning on in the summertime, most of that is going to come from stopping the closure of the coal plant.
Right.
That the Biden administration and Obama administration wanted to shrink our ability to generate electricity. And it's going to come from the expansion and rapid construction of new natural gas burning power plants. Natural gas is by far our biggest source of electricity. It's by far the lowest cost source of new electricity. So we are doing everything we can to allow the construction of natural gas plants as fast as possible and removing these ridiculous requirements that, well, if you spend $1 billion to build a new power plant within 6 or 7 or 8 years, you're going to have to capture all the carbon dioxide emissions and inject them underground, no matter how much it costs, no matter how much it burdens our power sector. Just the direction they were in just didn't care about American people or American businesses.
How long before we see these things? I mean, China is building at the speed of at least one coal-fired power plant a week. They are building nuclear plants. They are on an energy surge right now. They know what's coming. When should we see this actually starting to happen? And how long before power prices come down?
Oh man, that is the big question. President Trump asked me that every single day. Every single day. Let's get oil prices down. Let's get gas prices down. Let's get electricity prices down. And it takes a while to build infrastructure. Fortunately, quickly, we can stop the closure of coal plants that still have lots of lifetime left. We've already done that. That's why we don't have much worse blackouts already today. We do have new gas plants coming on this year, a lot more coming on next year. We'll have nuclear plants on later this term. We'll have a whole bunch of them under construction. But yet to turn the giant, aircraft carrier that is the electricity grid, that's going to take a few years. But hopefully we can stop the huge rise in prices. We can build the capacity so the United States can keep our lead on artificial intelligence over China. We get behind China and they control AI, our national security is at risk.
Yeah, I know.
So the whole administration is 7 days a week working on this effort. You will see dramatically fewer blackouts this summer than you would have had the election gone the other way. And I think we'll be in a little bit better situation next summer and somewhere in between there this winter. We're rapidly swimming the right way. I wish I could say power prices are going down 20% next year, but it's simply not possible to do that in 12 months. But I will tell you, President Trump is 7 days a week doing everything he can towards that goal.
What regions are the worst in the country, far as stability and prices?
The Midwest, the where that Michigan coal plant was kept open, where that nuclear power plant will reopen later that year. The Midwest independent system operator, that's our tightest region. The Southeast and PJM, where Washington, D.C. is, and the Mid-Atlantic states, they're rapidly getting tighter as well. Everything in the interconnection queue that was new to come on is a wind or solar project. Well, peak demand in the wintertime is when it's dark out. And in summertime, it's when it's really hot and you're in a high-pressure system and the wind doesn't blow. Those things don't help to meet peak demand. They just provide electricity. Well, you don't know when, but at some points in time, that's not very helpful for our electricity grid. But we're going to stop the closure of the firm capacity, and we're going to do everything we can. We are permitting and approving plants every week, new construction, new plants that'll get built, and that'll be here to provide relief to Americans in the next 12 to 24 months.
And the most stable region?
The most stable region actually is Texas, which is by far the biggest electricity grid. They produce more than twice as much electricity as California, and just a little bit less nonsense in Texas. They still went crazy on the wind subsidies.
Yeah, they did.
Still have more expensive and less stable grid than they had 10 years ago, but they also have the mindset and the regulatory regime to fix their problem. Texas is rapidly growing its firm capacity, and they're going to skate out of this crisis probably a little faster than the more Biden-influenced rest of the country.
I can't thank you enough for everything that you guys are doing. I'm amazed at how rapidly you guys have turned things around. I'm thrilled at the work you're all doing, and Chris, you're really leading us in energy, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Glenn. Appreciate all your viewers. We're doing everything we can. We think about American people. That's the only agenda we have.
Thank you so much, Chris. That's our U.S. Energy Secretary, Chris Wright. You want to talk about, we remember you were saying the other day, not only do we have competent people, we have people who communicate. That was a good communicator. That was somebody who I think spoke right directly, at least to me, it felt like he was speaking to me, and I felt like they at least were saying, I think he really meant it, but I think at least he was saying, we care about the average person. That's what we're focused on, is the average person. And you just don't hear that from government very often.
What about the kings and queens of nations, like Somalia, for example?
Yeah, right.
Where's Guatemala?
Yeah,
in this? Why he didn't even mention Guatemala?
He didn't even care about Guatemala.
No,
he was like, we care about America and Americans. Wow, okay, if that's what you want to do.